Welcome, seekers of hidden knowledge. Today, we'll explore the ancient and mystical practice of activating the third eye, drawing upon the esoteric teachings of Freemasonry. This journey will take us deep into realms of consciousness often overlooked by the uninitiated. The third eye, also known as the inner eye or the mind's eye, is a concept that has fascinated humanity for millennia. It's believed to be the gateway to higher consciousness and spiritual enlightenment. But what exactly is it, and how can we unlock its potential? In Freemasonry, the third eye is symbolized by the all-seeing eye, often depicted within a triangle or pyramid. This symbol represents divine providence, but it also holds a deeper meaning, the awakening of our innate spiritual vision. To understand the third eye, we must first recognize that our perception of reality is limited. We typically rely on our 5 physical senses to navigate the world, but these senses only scratch the surface of what truly exists. The third eye allows us to perceive beyond these limitations, tapping into the unseen realms of energy, thought, and spirit. Activating your third eye is not a simple task. It requires dedication, practice, and a willingness to challenge your preconceptions about reality. The process can be uncomfortable at times, as it often involves confronting aspects of ourselves and the world that we've long ignored or denied. But why should we bother with this challenging process? The benefits of an awakened third eye are profound. Enhanced intuition, greater clarity of thought, increased creativity, and a deeper connection to the universe are just a few of the potential outcomes. In Freemasonry, the journey of awakening the third eye is symbolized by the ascent of the winding staircase. Each step represents a new level of understanding, a gradual climb towards higher consciousness. This metaphor reminds us that spiritual growth is a process, not an instant transformation.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
To begin activating your third eye, start by creating a quiet, meditative space in your daily life. Find a comfortable position, close your physical eyes, and focus your attention on the point between your eyebrows. This is the location of the third eye chakra in many spiritual traditions. As you focus on this point, visualize a small, pulsing light. Don't strain or force the visualization. Simply allow it to form naturally in your mind's eye. This light represents the dormant energy of your third eye beginning to awaken. Breathe deeply and slowly, allowing each breath to energize and expand the light. As you continue this practice, you may begin to notice subtle sensations in your forehead, a slight pressure, tingling, or warmth. These are common experiences as the third eye begins to activate. Remember, patience is key in this process. The third eye doesn't open overnight. It's a gradual awakening that unfolds over time with consistent practice. In Freemasonry, there's a saying, "As above, so below." This phrase encapsulates the idea that the macrocosm, the universe, is reflected in the microcosm, the individual. As you work to activate your third eye, you're not just changing yourself, you're aligning yourself with the greater cosmic order. This alignment can lead to profound insights and experiences. You might find yourself more attuned to the subtle energies around you. Synchronicities may become more frequent in your life. Your intuition may sharpen, guiding you more clearly in your decisions and interactions. But with great power comes great responsibility. As your third eye awakens, you'll likely become more sensitive to the energies and emotions of others. This increased empathy can be both a blessing and a challenge. It's crucial to develop strong boundaries and grounding practices to maintain your own energetic integrity. One effective grounding technique is to visualize roots growing from the soles of your feet, deep into the earth. Feel the stable, nurturing energy of the earth flowing up through these roots, anchoring you firmly in your physical body even as your consciousness expands. As your practice deepens, you may begin to experience unusual phenomena. You might see flashes of light or color with your eyes closed, or have vivid prophetic dreams. Some people report experiencing brief moments of clairvoyance or telepathy. It's important not to become attached to these experiences or to see them as the goal of your practice. They are simply signposts along the way, indications that your consciousness is expanding. The true goal is a permanent shift in perception, a new way of being in the world. In Freemasonry, this shift is symbolized by the raising of the candidate from darkness to light. It represents the death of the old self and the birth of a new, more enlightened being. This transformation is not just a personal journey. It has the potential to ripple out and affect the world around you. As your third eye activates, you may find yourself naturally drawn to serve others. This is a common outcome of spiritual awakening. As we become more aware of our interconnectedness with all beings, compassion naturally arises. But how does this relate to the hidden teachings of Freemasonry? The answer lies in the concept of the Great Work. In Masonic philosophy, the Great Work refers to the alchemical process of transforming the lead of our lower nature into the gold of spiritual enlightenment. This transformation is not just for the benefit of the individual Mason. The ultimate goal is to elevate all of humanity, to create a more enlightened and harmonious world. The activation of the third eye is a crucial step in this process, as it allows us to see beyond the illusions that keep us separate and in conflict. One of the key illusions that the awakened third eye helps us transcend is the illusion of separateness. We begin to perceive the underlying unity of all things, the interconnected web of energy that binds all of existence. This perception can be overwhelming at first. You might find yourself feeling more vulnerable, more affected by the pain and suffering in the world. But this heightened sensitivity is a gift, not a curse. It allows you to respond to the world with greater compassion and wisdom. As your third eye continues to open, you may start to perceive auras, the subtle energy fields that surround all living things. These auras can provide valuable information about a person's emotional and physical state, allowing you to interact with others with greater understanding and empathy. But remember, with this ability comes the responsibility to use it ethically. In Freemasonry, there's a strong emphasis on moral and ethical development. As your spiritual abilities grow, it becomes even more important to cultivate virtues such as discretion, compassion, and integrity. Another aspect of third eye activation is the development of clearer intuition. You might find yourself knowing things without knowing how you know them. This intuitive knowledge can guide you in making decisions, solving problems, and navigating complex situations. In Masonic symbolism, this intuitive wisdom is represented by the letter G, which stands for both God and geometry. It suggests that as we align ourselves with universal principles, we gain access to a higher form of knowledge, one that goes beyond mere intellectual understanding. This intuitive wisdom often manifests as a deep sense of inner knowing. You might find yourself having insights that seem to come from nowhere, or making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. This is your third eye at work, allowing you to perceive patterns and relationships that are invisible to the physical eye. But how can we distinguish between genuine intuition and mere wishful thinking or imagination? This is where the discipline of Masonic training becomes invaluable. Through consistent practice and self-reflection, we learn to discern the clear, quiet voice of intuition from the chatter of our conditioned mind. One effective technique for developing this discernment is to keep a journal of your intuitive impressions. Write down your hunches, your gut feelings, your sudden insights. Then, over time, review these notes and see how they align with actual events. This practice can help you fine-tune your intuitive abilities and build confidence in your inner guidance. As your third eye becomes more active, you may also start to experience expanded states of consciousness during meditation or contemplation. These states might include feelings of bliss, a sense of oneness with the universe, or visions of geometric patterns or symbolic imagery. In Freemasonry, these experiences are understood as glimpses of higher realms of existence. They're not seen as ends in themselves, but as inspiration and guidance for our continued growth and development. It's crucial to approach these experiences with a balanced perspective. While they can be profound and transformative, they shouldn't become a source of spiritual ego or a distraction from our practical work in the world. The true measure of spiritual growth is not in the intensity of our mystical experiences, but in how we live our daily lives. As we continue to work with the third eye, we may find that our perception of time and space begins to shift. We might experience moments of timelessness, where past, present, and future seem to coexist. Or we might have experiences of expanded space, where we feel ourselves extending beyond the boundaries of our physical body. These experiences can be disorienting at first, but they offer us a broader perspective on reality. They remind us that our normal, everyday consciousness is just one mode of perception among many possibilities. In Masonic philosophy, this expanded perception is symbolized by the celestial globe, which represents the heavens and the realm of spirit. By activating our third eye, we're learning to navigate these higher realms while remaining grounded in our earthly existence. One of the challenges of this work is maintaining balance. As we open to higher realms of consciousness, it's important not to become so focused on the spiritual that we neglect our physical and emotional well-being. In Freemasonry, this balance is represented by the twin pillars of Boaz and Jachin, which symbolize strength and establishment. To maintain this balance, it's helpful to incorporate physical practices into your spiritual routine. This might include yoga, tai chi, or other forms of mindful movement. These practices help to integrate the energies awakened by third eye activation, allowing them to flow harmoniously through your entire being. Another important aspect of third eye activation is the development of concentration and focus. In our modern world of constant distraction, the ability to direct and sustain our attention is a valuable skill. The third eye acts as a lens for our consciousness, and like any lens, its effectiveness depends on how steadily we can hold it. Freemasonry teaches various techniques for developing concentration, often using symbolic objects as focal points for meditation. One classic example is the point within a circle. By focusing your attention on this simple symbol, you can train your mind to become still and focused, enhancing the clarity of your inner vision. As your ability to concentrate improves, you may find that your third eye activations become more vivid and sustained. You might experience prolonged states of expanded awareness or have clearer and more detailed intuitive insights. But remember, the goal is not just to have extraordinary experiences, but to bring the wisdom gained from these experiences into our everyday lives. How can we use our enhanced perception to make better decisions, to treat others with more compassion, to contribute more effectively to the world around us? This is where the practical wisdom of Freemasonry becomes particularly relevant. Freemasonry teaches that true wisdom is always balanced by practical application. It's not enough to have profound insights. We must also learn to embody and express these insights in our actions. As your third eye becomes more active, you may find yourself naturally drawn to act with greater kindness and consideration towards others. You might become more aware of the impact of your words and actions, and more mindful of how you interact with the world around you. This increased awareness can sometimes be challenging. You might become more sensitive to discord and negativity in your environment. You might find it harder to ignore injustice or turn a blind eye to suffering, But this heightened sensitivity is a gift, even when it's uncomfortable. It's pushing you to grow, to take responsibility, to be a force for positive change in the world. In Freemasonry, this process of growth and transformation is symbolized by the rough and perfect ashlars. The rough ashlar represents our unrefined nature, while the perfect ashlar represents our potential for spiritual perfection. The work of activating the third eye is part of the process of transforming ourselves from rough to perfect ashlars. But what does this transformation look like in practical terms? It might manifest as increased emotional intelligence, allowing you to navigate relationships with greater ease and understanding. It might show up as enhanced problem-solving abilities, as you're able to see situations from multiple perspectives. It might appear as a deeper sense of purpose and direction in your life, as you become more attuned to your inner guidance. As your third eye continues to open, you may also find yourself developing a different relationship with fear. Many of our limitations and blockages are rooted in fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of our own power. But as we cultivate inner vision, we begin to see through these fears, recognizing them as illusory barriers to our growth. In Masonic symbolism, this process of overcoming fear is represented by the symbolism of darkness and light. The candidate begins their journey in darkness, symbolizing ignorance and fear. Through initiation and personal work, they gradually move towards the light of wisdom and understanding. This journey from darkness to light is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. Each time we face a fear, each time we choose growth over comfort, we're reenacting this symbolic journey. The activation of the third eye gives us the vision and courage to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. As we continue this work, we may find that our sense of self begins to shift. The boundaries of our identity become more fluid, and we start to experience ourselves as part of a larger whole. This doesn't mean losing our individuality, but rather expanding our sense of self to include a broader perspective. In Freemasonry, this expanded sense of self is symbolized by the point within a circle. The point represents the individual, while the circle represents the bounds of their duty to God and humanity. As we activate our third eye, we become more aware of our place within this larger circle, our interconnectedness with all of life. This shift in perspective can be profoundly liberating. We begin to see that many of the things we've been striving for, success, recognition, material wealth, are less important than we thought. Instead, we find fulfillment in aligning ourselves with our higher purpose, in being of service to others, in contributing to the greater good. But this doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or neglecting our practical responsibilities. On the contrary, as our third eye awakens, we often find ourselves more engaged with life, more present in our relationships, more effective in our work. We're able to bring a higher level of consciousness to everything we do. In Masonic terms, this is the true meaning of building the temple, not just engaging in abstract spiritual practices, but actively working to manifest higher principles in our daily lives and in the world around us. As we continue this work, we may find that synchronicities and meaningful coincidences become more frequent in our lives. We might have experiences of déjà vu, or find that the right person or opportunity shows up just when we need it. These experiences are often seen as signs that we're in alignment with our higher purpose, that we're on the right path. But it's important not to become too attached to these experiences or to use them as a crutch for decision-making. The awakened third eye enhances our intuition and perception, but it doesn't replace critical thinking or personal responsibility. We still need to use our discernment and make choices based on our best judgment. In Freemasonry, this balance between intuition and reason is symbolized by the compasses and square. The compasses represent the spiritual and intuitive aspects of our nature, while the square represents reason and practical judgment. True wisdom comes from integrating both of these aspects. As your third eye becomes more active, you may also find yourself drawn to explore other esoteric or spiritual traditions. You might discover surprising connections between different systems of thought, or find new depth in teachings that previously seemed obscure or irrelevant. This is a natural part of the awakening process. As our perception expands, we're able to see the underlying unity behind different spiritual paths. We recognize that while the language and symbols may differ, many traditions are pointing towards the same fundamental truths. In Freemasonry, this recognition of underlying unity is expressed in the concept of the great architect of the universe, a universal creative principle that transcends any particular religious doctrine. As we activate our third eye, we begin to perceive this universal principle more directly, beyond the limitations of dogma or belief. But this doesn't mean that all paths are identical or equally valid for everyone. Part of the wisdom of the awakened third eye is discerning which teachings and practices are most beneficial for our individual journey. We learn to trust our own inner guidance while remaining open to wisdom from various sources. As we continue to work with the third eye, we may find that our dreams become more vivid and meaningful. We might have prophetic dreams or experience lucid dreaming, where we're aware that we're dreaming and can consciously direct the dream narrative. These expanded dream experiences can be a valuable source of insight and guidance. In many esoteric traditions, including some branches of Freemasonry, dream work is seen as an important tool for spiritual growth and self-understanding. To work with your dreams, try keeping a dream journal. Write down your dreams as soon as you wake up, before the details fade. Over time, you may start to recognize patterns or recurring symbols in your dreams. These can offer valuable clues about your subconscious mind and your spiritual journey. As your third eye activation deepens, you may also find yourself more sensitive to the energy of places and objects. You might walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional atmosphere, or pick up an object and get impressions about its history or the person who owned it. This sensitivity can be both a gift and a challenge. It allows us to gather information that's not available through our ordinary senses, but it can also be overwhelming if we don't learn to manage it effectively. Grounding practices, like the ones we discussed earlier, become even more important as these abilities develop. In Freemasonry, this sensitivity to subtle energies is often developed through the study of sacred geometry and architecture. By understanding the principles of harmony and proportion in sacred spaces, we learn to attune ourselves to the subtle energies that flow through all of creation. As we continue to activate and refine our third eye, we may find that our perception of light and color becomes more acute. We might notice subtle variations in hue that we never perceived before, or see auras of light around people and objects. Some people report seeing sparks or flashes of light, especially during meditation or in altered states of consciousness. These visual phenomena are often interpreted as glimpses of the subtle energy body, or what some traditions call the etheric double. In Masonic symbolism, this subtle body is represented by the blazing star, which signifies the divine spark within each individual. However, it's important not to become too fixated on these visual experiences. While they can be fascinating and even beautiful, they are not the ultimate goal of third eye activation. The true aim is a fundamental shift in consciousness, a new way of perceiving and interacting with reality. This shift in consciousness often brings with it a profound sense of peace and inner stillness. As we learn to see beyond the surface appearances of things, we become less reactive to the ups and downs of daily life. We develop a sense of equanimity, an ability to remain centered even in challenging circumstances. In Freemasonry, This state of inner peace is symbolized by the smooth ashlar, the perfectly squared stone that represents the refined and balanced personality. Achieving this state doesn't mean becoming passive or detached from life. Rather, it allows us to engage more fully and effectively with the world around us, free from the distortions of fear and ego. As our third eye becomes more active, we may also find ourselves more attuned to the rhythms and cycles of nature. We might become more aware of the phases of the moon, the changing of the seasons, or the subtle energetic shifts that occur throughout the day. This attunement to natural cycles can provide valuable guidance in our daily lives. We learn to align our activities with the most auspicious times, to work with the flow of energy rather than against it. In Masonic symbolism, this harmony with natural law is represented by the 24-inch gauge, which teaches us to divide our time wisely and live in accordance with natural rhythms. Another aspect of third eye activation is an increased ability to visualize and manifest our intentions. As we develop our inner vision, we become more adept at holding clear mental images and infusing them with energy. This can significantly enhance our ability to bring our goals and dreams into reality. In Freemasonry, this creative power of visualization is symbolized by the trestle board, upon which the master architect draws his plans. By learning to use our third eye as a kind of inner trestle board, we can more effectively plan and manifest our life's work. However, with this increased power of manifestation comes increased responsibility. As our thoughts and intentions become more potent, it becomes even more important to be mindful of what we're putting out into the world. We must learn to use this power wisely and ethically, always considering the greater good. As we continue to work with our third eye, we may find that our sense of time becomes more fluid. We might experience moments of timelessness during meditation, or find that time seems to slow down or speed up in certain situations. Some people report experiences of perceiving past or future events, or of accessing what seems to be ancestral or collective memories. These experiences can be disorienting at first, but they offer us a broader perspective on the nature of reality. They remind us that our ordinary perception of time as a linear progression is just one way of experiencing the world. As we open our third eye, we begin to perceive the eternal present that underlies all temporal experiences. In Masonic symbolism, this transcendence of ordinary time is represented by the hourglass, which reminds us of the transient nature of physical existence while pointing towards the eternal truths that lie beyond. As our third eye activation deepens, we may also find ourselves more aware of the power of sound and vibration. We might become more sensitive to the effects of music, or find that certain sounds or mantras have a profound impact on our consciousness. Some people report hearing inner sounds or celestial music as their third eye opens. This sensitivity to sound and vibration can be a powerful tool for spiritual growth and healing. In many esoteric traditions, including some branches of Freemasonry, sound is used as a means of altering consciousness and accessing higher states of awareness. The use of ritual music, chanting, and even the rhythmic cadence of ritual speech can all be seen as ways of working with this principle. Another important aspect of third eye activation is the development of discernment. As we become more sensitive to subtle energies and information, it becomes crucial to distinguish between genuine insights and flights of fantasy or wishful thinking. We must learn to question our perceptions, to test our insights against reason and experience. In Freemasonry, this quality of discernment is symbolized by the chisel, which represents the refinement of character through careful introspection and self-examination. By applying the chisel of discernment to our thoughts and perceptions, we gradually chip away at illusion and reveal the truth within. As our third eye becomes more active, we may find that our sense of purpose in life becomes clearer. We might feel a stronger connection to our life's mission, or discover hidden talents and abilities that we never knew we had. This can lead to significant changes in our life path, as we align ourselves more fully with our true calling. In Masonic terms, this alignment with our higher purpose is represented by the plumb line, which symbolizes uprightness and true alignment with universal principles. As we activate our third eye, we become more adept at discerning and following this inner plumb line. However, it's important to remember that our purpose may not always manifest in grand or dramatic ways. Sometimes, living our purpose means bringing more consciousness and compassion to our everyday interactions. It might mean being a more present parent, a more ethical business person, or a more engaged citizen of our community. As we continue to work with our third eye, we may find that our relationship with the concept of death undergoes a profound shift. Many people report that as their inner vision expands, they develop a sense of the continuity of consciousness beyond physical death. This doesn't necessarily mean subscribing to any particular belief about the afterlife, but rather developing a direct intuition of the indestructible nature of consciousness itself. In Freemasonry, this transcendence of the fear of death is symbolized by the acacia, a symbol of immortality. The awakened third eye allows us to perceive the eternal aspect of our being, that which remains unchanged amidst the constant flux of physical existence. This shift in perspective can have a profound impact on how we live our lives. When we're no longer driven by the fear of death, we're free to live more fully and authentically. We may find ourselves taking more risks, expressing ourselves more honestly, and pursuing our true passions without hesitation. As our third eye activation deepens, we may also find ourselves more aware of the interconnectedness of all things. We might have experiences of unity consciousness, where the boundaries between self and other temporarily dissolve. These experiences can be profoundly transformative, giving us a direct taste of the underlying oneness of existence. In Masonic symbolism, this interconnectedness is represented by the mystic tie, the invisible bond that unites all Masons and indeed all of humanity. As we open our third eye, we become more consciously aware of this mystic tie and more able to act in harmony with it. This awareness of interconnectedness often leads to a natural increase in compassion and empathy. As we recognize that we are not separate from others or from the world around us, we naturally want to alleviate suffering and promote harmony wherever we can. However, this doesn't mean becoming a doormat or neglecting our own needs. True compassion, arising from the awakened third eye, includes ourselves as well as others. We learn to balance self-care with care for others, recognizing that these are not separate but interdependent. As we continue to work with our third eye, we may find that our ability to communicate becomes more refined. We might become more adept at expressing complex ideas clearly, or find that we're able to understand others on a deeper level. Some people report developing telepathic abilities or becoming more sensitive to nonverbal forms of communication. In Freemasonry, this enhanced communication is symbolized by the trowel, which represents the spreading of brotherly love and affection. As our third eye opens, we become more adept at using the trowel of communication to build bridges of understanding between ourselves and others. Another aspect of third eye activation is an increased awareness of the power of intention and thought. We might become more conscious of how our habitual thought patterns shape our experience of reality, and more skilled at directing our thoughts in positive and constructive ways. This awareness of the power of thought is reflected in the Masonic emphasis on mental discipline and the cultivation of virtuous thoughts. By learning to use our third eye to monitor and direct our thought processes, we can become more effective creators of our own reality. As our third eye becomes more active, We may also find ourselves more attuned to the subtle energies of the earth itself. We might become more sensitive to ley lines or other earth energy currents, or develop a deeper connection to particular landscapes or natural features. In some branches of Freemasonry, this attunement to earth energies is cultivated through the study of sacred geography and the placement of lodges and temples. By learning to perceive and work with these subtle energies, we can create spaces that support spiritual growth and transformation. As we continue this work of activating and refining our third eye, it's important to remember that this is not a linear process with a clear endpoint. Rather, it's an ongoing journey of expansion and deepening. There will be times of rapid growth and profound insight, and times of apparent stagnation or even regression. The key is to approach this journey with patience, persistence, and humility. We must be willing to continually question our assumptions, to remain open to new insights and perspectives. In Masonic terms, we must always be willing to return to the rough ashlar and begin our work anew. Remember, the awakening of the third eye is not an end in itself, but a means to live a more conscious, compassionate, and fulfilling life. As we develop this inner vision, we become more effective instruments of positive change in the world. We learn to see beyond the surface appearances of things to the underlying truths that unite us all. In the end, the true measure of our spiritual development is not in the psychic abilities we develop or the mystical experiences we have, but in how we live our daily lives. Do we treat others with more kindness and understanding? Are we more honest and ethical in our dealings? Do we contribute positively to our communities and the world at large? These are the questions that matter as we walk this path of awakening. The third eye is a powerful tool, but like any tool, its value lies in how we use it. May your journey of awakening lead you to greater wisdom, compassion, and joy, and may you use the gifts of your awakened vision for the benefit of all beings.